Hello, I'm Tanya. I'm an adult child of divorce. My parents broke up when I was 10 years old. And if you'd asked me at the time or in my teenage years how the divorce had impacted me, I probably would have said, it's fine, it's no big deal. Or maybe I would have just shrugged my shoulders and said, ugh, whatever. I may have admitted that there were difficult or painful things associated with the divorce, but most likely I would have downplayed the way that my parents' breakup impacted me. For many children, this is a common response to divorce. It simply becomes something that's normal and that's part of life. There seems to be little to be gained in complaining about it or talking about how difficult it is. So many children, after a period of time, will simply accept it and move on. But for me, it's been in my adult life that I became aware of more and more ways that my parents' divorce impacted me. And in this video, I want to talk about 8 things that I used to believe as a child of divorce. As I go through the list of 8 things, you'll see that there are some grains of truth in some of the things that I used to believe. But ultimately, these 8 ideas that I held missed the mark somehow and kept me from moving forward in healing and growth. If you're a child of divorce, you may relate to some of these ideas. You may still believe them. You may have believed them in the past, or you may not even realize that these are thoughts and ideas below the surface of your conscious thinking. The ideas that I listed provided hope for me in a certain situation. But as time went on, I realized that I needed to readjust and change my expectations. One of the things I used to believe was that ignoring my pain and the pain I felt over my parents' breakup would make it go away. I hoped that if I pretended everything was fine, everything would be fine. I hoped that acting like everything was fine, like I was okay, that this new situation of living my life between homes was normal, then it would reduce the pain, frustration, or difficulties that I faced. Somehow I knew that if I admitted that things were really awful and really painful, and I was really broken up inside, that I would have to face that pain. And it was too much for me to handle as a child and as a teen and even as a young adult. So I found ways to distract myself. I pushed away any suggestion that there was anything wrong with my family, that there was anything wrong with my life, that I was dealing with anything difficult. And I carried on trying to be as normal as I could. A second thing I used to believe was that once I was old enough to move away from home, my problems would be fixed. As a child and as a teen, I split my time between my dad's home and my mom's home. And each of these homes had their own challenges and difficulties. For many years, I held on to this idea that the problems and the pain that I felt were tied to those physical homes. So I imagined that when I was old enough to finally move out of those homes and have control over who I lived with, how I spent my time and money, then my pain and my problems would vanish. A third thing I believed was that turning a certain age, maybe 21 or 25 or 30 or 40 or something else, would finally get me to a place where my pain disappeared. I thought if I could put enough time between my childhood, my parents' breakup, and the challenges that came after it, then I would finally be okay. But as time went on and I reached each of these milestones and discovered that my challenges didn't disappear, I just kept pushing it back. Okay, so maybe not when I'm 25, but maybe 30. Okay, maybe 35. Okay, maybe 40. But here I am now in my late 40s, and I realize that even though I have grown and healed a lot, there are still areas in my life where I feel pain, grief, and sadness. Another thing I believed was that success was the key to solving my problems. As a child and as a teenager, I thought if I can find success at school, that will solve my problems. When I entered the workforce and started my career, I thought if I can just get a great title or a promotion or be successful in my job, then that will solve my problems. And while I did find some joy and satisfaction in doing well at school or in my job and my hobbies and my different accomplishments, none of these successes were enough to actually heal my pain, make me feel good about myself in a deep way. Another thing that I used to believe as a person of faith was that prayer and Bible reading could fix me and solve my problems. Now, there have been many times where I've looked to God for help and comfort, and it has made a real difference in my life. And while prayer and Bible reading and spending time with God and experiencing His love has brought a lot of healing and growth into my life, those activities on their own, including forgiving my parents and being loving towards them, didn't have the power to fix and heal and change me. Another thing I used to believe was that pleasing people would give me the love that I needed. For many years, I tried really hard to earn love and get love from the people around me. I always had my antenna up, trying to think, what do people want from me? What do they need from me? How can I be that person that they're looking for? If a friend needed a babysitter, I was there. If my boss needed extra help for a project, I would volunteer. I thought the key to love and good friendships was figuring out what people needed and then finding a way to provide that for them. The seventh thing that I used to believe as a child of divorce was that marriage would solve my problems. I think it's pretty common for a lot of people, even people from intact families, to have really high expectations of marriage and to believe that marriage will solve our loneliness, our fear, and our insecurities. When you're from a divorced family, I think there are extra layers of complexity in terms of how we view marriage, what it is, and how to make it work. I imagined that winning the love of some amazing guy would be the answer to my loneliness and my insecurities and my fears about the future. I thought marriage would heal the pain that I felt, the pain of rejection and abandonment and loneliness. When I finally got married, I thought that that was some kind of sign that I was finally healed and restored and exactly where I needed to be. But I quickly discovered that was not the case. The final thing that I used to believe as a child of divorce was that I actually don't need love or connection. When I reflected on the different things that I had tried to do to earn love and to feel better about myself, whether that was being successful or being a people pleaser or reaching a certain age, when I realized those things didn't work, I felt hopeless. I had tried to do everything that I knew how to do, and none of them were working. So the conclusion that I drew from that and lived in for a season of life was that I actually don't need love. I don't need vulnerability. I don't need connection. I told myself I lived without those as a child. I can certainly live without them as an adult. So if you're listening to this as a child of divorce, I wonder which of these 8 things you can identify with. Have you tried to gain love through people pleasing? Have you imagined that success in a career would finally make you feel better about yourself? Have you thought that getting married or being able to be independent would solve your problems? I wonder what you've done to try to feel better about yourself and to soothe your sadness and pain and loss. And I wonder what ideas or suggestions actually helped you to move forward in your healing journey. So in this video, I've looked at a lot of the things that I used to believe that were not helpful, but I have created a number of videos about the things that have been helpful to me, how I have been able to move forward and find healing from my parents' divorce. So please check out my other videos for suggestions and ideas, resources. If you found this video helpful, please like it and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on future videos.